Alright, so my name is Matt Day, and I'm a photographer from Chillicothe, Ohio. And a lot of people always ask how I got into photography, so it's kind of a long story. I'll try and keep it somewhat short anyway. But my brother is 4 years older than me. At the time he was 17, I was 13, and he was working on a local farm, and one of the days whenever he was there, he was attacked by a bull, and whenever the bull came up behind him, it hit him, and he landed on his neck, and that paralyzed him from the chest down. So he was in intensive care up at OSU Hospital for a while, and all while he was doing that, my mom was staying there with him, and my dad was busy adding on to our house, so that way, he had a room that he could get to. And I was just kind of living with friends and family at the time. I was still in school. It was during the school year, and I was just busy with that, and I didn't see my mom and dad that often, I guess, as much as I normally would, because obviously they had other stuff that they were doing. So while he was in the hospital, my uncle and aunt who lived in Florida, they flew up to visit him and see how he was doing, and my uncle had told me that he'd gotten me a camera, and basically just to kind of document whatever it was I was doing, to show my mom and dad like what I'd been up to, because they couldn't see me very much, and also to kind of document my brother's progress, I guess, like his recovery. So I started doing that, and I guess I just never really stopped. I was constantly taking photos, and oddly enough, at the same time when that happened, I was 13 and he was playing every sport possible, doing all this stuff where I really wasn't doing anything. I played video games, I did, normal stuff like that. I wasn't playing any sports, so I kind of was just thinking like, I don't want to take what I could do for granted after seeing him being paralyzed, taking away everything that he was doing. So I wanted to skateboard, because that's, something I always thought I'd like to do, but I never actually did it. So whenever he was in the hospital, I got my first skateboard. And I think that and getting my first camera just kind of went hand in hand. You pick up a skate magazine, there's tons and tons of photos in there, whether it be a skateboarding photo or a portrait of one of the skateboarders, anything. So that's really all I did. Once I obviously he came home and everything, and all that, but I never stopped, I guess, just keeping that mindset of always having a camera with me. So every time me and my friends would go skating, or if we'd just be hanging out doing anything, I was always taking photos. And the camera that he'd given me was a Kodak EasyShare. I think at the time it was like a 4 megapixel camera, which back then, it was a nice camera. And I used it for a couple years, and I mean, it just was so beat down and thrashed that you couldn't even turn it on anymore. Started taking photos for my friend Jesse's band, and at the time I didn't really think anything of it. He just asked me if I could take one just because I had a camera. It wasn't like I was a photographer or whatever, called myself that. I just took photos, and took those. And then a couple other people, it was our senior year, so they were asking me like, hey, can you take my senior pictures? It wasn't like I had a job doing it or anything. They were just wanted someone to take it. I think they just felt more comfortable having a friend do it, which is completely understandable. So started doing that, and eventually it just kind of spread. I think, one person asked me, who I wasn't completely, close friends with him, but I went to school with him and everything. And, they asked me if I would take him, and I'm like, yeah, sure. And they're like, okay, well, how much do you want? And I was just like, mean, like I didn't understand, like, why would she pay me? I was just having fun, Then because of that, I really kind of learned, like, okay, I could really make a job out of this, and actually do it for a living. I just can't really imagine what else I would rather be doing, you know what I mean? I mean, it's all I do every single day, whether it be, if I go and do a shoot for a job, then, that's my job, that's my career. But at the same time, if I have any free time, I'm always out taking photos. Somehow it's just never gotten old to me, I think the whole idea behind, just being able to capture that one specific thing and being able to look back on it, you know, it's a big deal to me. I mean, I've always liked looking at old photos and old, you know, home videos, anything like that, just, you know, whether it's just me being, you know, nostalgic about, you know, every little thing, I don't know, but that's just the one thing that's never really gotten old to me, ever. You know, I've always been taking photos, you know, ever since I got that first camera, it's like I've never really stopped. Definitely just really thankful for, you know, how far everything's come, so I couldn't be happier. I didn't understand how, you know, worlds apart digital and film really are. You know, I mean, whether it's even just by looking at it, you can tell, you know, the look of film, the colors, the grain.